Hello everyone, I have another video here and I'm actually going to be doing a title page to one of my albums. It's just a 6x8 album and it's one just for me, and I'm going to be scrapbooking all of my favorite pictures of my little girl. And a lot of these pictures I like just because she's really cute in them. So there's not going to be a lot of journaling that goes along with it. So it's a really good opportunity just to play with some of my favorite product and make pretty pages, which is always fun to do. So I'm using that black and white polka dot paper as my background, and then I cut out my title on the silhouette. And I don't think I had the right settings for this, and it didn't make a really clean cut. But it was nothing that I couldn't just fix with some scissors, so it worked out. That black and white paper I got at Michael's, and then that corally paper, it's a Tim Holtz brand, and I've had it for a while, but I'm pretty sure I got it at Joann's. But once I get all of these words kind of cleaned up, I adhere them down to some vellum. I mean, as you can see, that page is really busy, and so that title would completely get lost. And I didn't want to put it on white paper, and so I decided vellum would be a good option. And because that background paper was a little busy, I decided to layer up the vellum to make a good distinction between the title and the background paper. I'm not totally concerned if this is perfectly even, but I do bring out this mat with the grid lines to kind of help me get it somewhat centered. I was just using the tape runner to tape those on, but those words were really delicate and it just wasn't working very good, so I pulled out that glue pin. And then I try to decide if I want to use all 3 layers of this vellum or just a couple, and I do decide that I want all 3. I like the look of that. And then I put about 1,000,000 dots of glue on the back of this I don't know that I needed quite that much. You know, it's always a trick, as you know, with vellum, because you can see through it. So a lot of adhesive doesn't really work. I find this glue pin, though, is my go-to adhesive with vellum. So I get this adhered to my background paper, and then I bring out these flowers that I got from Hobby Lobby. And I fiddle with the design of those. And you'll see here, I notice I have something on my paper. There's some yellow on it, and I had to determine if that was just the paper or if something had got on it, and I realized that something was on it. So I had to decide if that bugged me or not, and it did. And I didn't have any more of that paper that was big enough, so I had to go with a different option. And I used this ivory honeycomb paper. I also get this at Michael's, and I usually have a lot of it because it's my favorite neutral. I find that I can put it on any layout, and I always, every time I go to Michael's, I will usually pick up a few sheets of this, so I usually have it on hand. So I change that up a bit, and then I go back to figuring out where I'm going to be putting these flowers. And I have 2 big ones, or no, I have 1 big one and 2 small ones. And I think that I want the big one and a small one down in that lower right-hand corner, but it just is too crowded. And so that upper left-hand corner, just because there is that space there, is the more natural place for that. I even here try to see if I have a different size, if there's maybe even a smaller one or a medium one that I could have 3 different sizes, but I couldn't see one. So I think about using these buttons to put in the center of them, of the flowers. And I pull out these green enamel dots because I really think that color looks good with those. with the other colors I used on the page, but I decide they're too small. So I stick with using these peachy colored buttons, and then I fiddle around more with the placement of those. I finally settle on grouping the two smaller ones together and then that big one in the upper left-hand corner. I am threading my buttons. I sometimes will just put my button on there, and sometimes I take the time to thread them. I'm always happy when I thread them. I just like that look better, but sometimes I find that I don't know, I'm just a little lazy when I do scrapbooking sometimes, so sometimes I don't do that. But since this is going to be a more, I don't know, simpler page, and it's just a title page, I definitely try to add all the little details I can to it. I am just using my tape runner to get the flowers where I want them, but then I'm actually hot gluing the buttons down. They're a little bulky because of that thread. So I decided the hot glue would be a good option to adhering those down. Once I get these buttons glued down, I think it looks pretty cute, but I decide it needs a little something else. And I had a scrap piece of gold paper sitting there, and I thought it might be good to put on the corners. I thought about just doing the two corners that didn't have the flowers on them on the vellum, but I actually decide to put them on the outer corners. And you'll see here, I have a little bit of trouble, and I don't know why, but I had a little trouble figuring out what corner went where. I mean, those were probably never moved from when I cut them, but for some reason I thought they were mixed up. But in the end, it really doesn't matter what corner they went in. I got them placed. And I even think about putting those green enamel dots just around the flowers, but I decide that I just like the look a little more plain like this, and so I decide that it is done. So that is the final look, and like I said, this will be the title page for my album, and I'm really excited to see the pages fill up. So thank you so much for watching. Bye.